2,000 Kenya shillings or more with your NCBA Visa debit or credit card. The more you swipe or tap to pay, the higher your chances of winning with 1 point for every 2,000 Kenya shillings spent. Don't miss out. NCBA. Go for it.
Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. On sign language interpretation is Lanza Odingo. Do interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. The High Court in Mombasa has started hearing a petition challenging the election of Fatuma Achani as Kwale governor during the August 9th general election. A petitioner, Ziwe Zuma, told the presiding judge, Francis Gikonyo, that the results declared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, lacked the threshold to announce her the winner. Zuma claims that the election was marred with bribery and intimidation, leading to the actual winner being denied victory.
Kwale Governor Fatuma Achani has to defend her victory after a petition was filed in court to have her win nullified over malpractices. Petitioner Ziwe Zuma told presiding judge Francis Gikonyo that the election was marred with bribery and intimidation, leading to the actual winner being denied victory. Zuma alleged that ward administrators were used to visit voters at their homes and unduly influenced them to support Fatuma Achani's bid by installing fear. Zuma, through his lawyer Davis Mikwa, told the court Azimio agents were locked out in Lunga constituency and Kinango constituency polling stations. The petitioner said he had sought court relief to nullify Fatuma's victory over ODM candidate Amani Boga. In the concluded August 9 general election, Achani of UDA garnered 59,674 votes against her close competitor Amadi Boga of ODM, who had 53,972 votes.
Kenya and Oman will continue cooperating in various sectors that promote common interest for the good of citizens of the both nations. Speaking in Nairobi during the Sultanate of Oman celebration to mark the 52nd anniversary of the glorious National Day, Acting Charge Affairs Said Mohammed Al-Amri said his country and Kenya have cooperated in many aspects, among them cultural, economic, political and social cooperation. Members of diplomatic corps, senior government officials, politicians, religious leaders and members of the public joined the Sultanate of Oman community in Kenya for the 52nd National Day celebrations. During the occasion, the Embassy of the Sultanate of Oman, Charge Affairs, Oman Said Mohammed Al-Amri, said his country will continue to enhance bilateral ties with Kenya in different sectors.
It's nice. Now we're making a relationship also in Lamu. We sent before 1 month or 2 months, I think 1,000 or 500 sheep like that to send to Oman. And we have a lot of relationship about that.
Al-Amri says his country and Kenya have over the years cooperated in cultural, economic, political and social fields.
We have relationship for everything, in education, in museum, in relationship with everything. Inshallah, it's up, coming up. Also, so many Kenyans is going to study in Oman also.
The Chief Guest Director, Middle East Directorate Ambassador Kennedy Mokaya, said Kenya remains a willing partner keen on working with Oman government towards the fulfillment of Sultanate's Vision 2030.
Kenya is ready for strategic and purposeful engagement on areas of mutual interest, including agriculture and irrigation, commerce and industry, as well as the renewable sector and the blue economy.
Other Kenyans who attended the celebrations urged the two nations to continue working together for the mutual gain and shared prosperity.
And we should celebrate these things that we have in common, and we should continue to work together. Economic, social, political, security. I would have liked to see more trading relationships between Kenya and Oman, but I think there's a good start already happening.
Needy households and schools from drought-stricken parts of Meru, Isiolo and Samburu counties have benefited from food aid, courtesy of a partnership between the Rotary Club of Nairobi, the Village Trust TVT and the Chandaria Foundation.
The team leader of the Rotary Club of Nairobi and the Chandaria Foundation, Nelson Buru, said that the food aid was targeting the poor, sick and the elderly, as well as pregnant women who are the most vulnerable.
We decided the first thing we're going to do is the schools in this side, which is Meru, Samburu, Isiolo, 47 schools, 19,000 children, we donate food to them. The second thing is we chose 300 households. A household has about 6 people, so you're talking about 2,000 people. Feed them for a month.
Dr. Sarah Kilemi from the Village Trust called for sustainable interventions to permanently deal with the cycle of recurrent drought situations.
We are also hopeful that with the partnership of Chandaria Foundation and Rotary International, we'll be able to sink some boreholes which will be able to give us water for irrigation, and then we can eliminate these problems.
Lolo Lelenguya, a beneficiary from Samburu County, said that most of the families in the area had experienced massive losses due to the death of livestock.
Tumeumia, lakini tunasema wa Kenya maendelee na hiyo moyo kutoa msaada na makampuni. Tunashukuru, tunasema asante, Mungu awabariki.
Hii climate change imefanya sisi tupoteze watu wengi sana, wamekufa kwa sababu ya njaa. Imefanya watu wengi, watoto especially, wameacha shule kwa sababu ya kukosa chakula.
To education concerns, candidates have been urged not to give up ahead of this year's national examination, but use the few days that are remaining to polish up their skills. Speaking at St. Ronan School in Karen during prayer day and graduation ceremony, St. Ronan School Principal Sister Frida Adonga said the school has provided all the required materials for learners to improve their performance during their examination. Langata Sub-County Director of DAISY, Kurere, lauded the school management for providing learning facilities to the communities living near the school.
The children are not private, they are Kenyan children. That's why the government is really concerned about them. So the school is safe, it's good, it has all the quality assurance and standard report. It is fit for our learners.
The Form 4s who are to sit for exams in a few days to come, we wish you well. And the few days that are remaining can also make a difference. So don't give up, still push up until the last minute.
A section of leaders from Kakamega County has called on Kenyans to collaborate with the government to address insecurity incidents lately witnessed in different parts of the country. Speaking during the crowning of chief and sub-chiefs in Navakholo constituency, Kakamega County, the leaders led by politician Emmanuel Wangwe noted that it's only through better police-community relationship that insecurity will be effectively addressed. Kakamega County Commissioner Joseph Odengo, who officiated the ceremony, called on Kenyans to put aside political differences and support the government of the day.
wakati huu siasa imeisha na tunatekeleza wajibu ya kuleta maendeleo kwa kila eneo. Kwa hivyo ukiwa unataka kupata maziwa ama kupata asali, Waswahili wao wanasema nini? So unafuata nyuki. Kwa hivyo mheshimiwa, wewe fuata nyuki upate asali. Asali iko kwa serikali.
Hata bili ya kuongeza mambo ya ushuru, mimi nitawaambia hapana, watu wako hawana pesa ya kulipa ushuru. Lakini sitaenda kwa barabara ati munione mimi nimeenda kwa barabara ati narusha mawe kwa sababu mheshimiwa rais ni wa chama kingine na mimi ni ODM. Mimi sitafanya hivyo. Nitaketi na wao na niwasukume katika bunge. I will not oppose for the sake of opposing, but I will not retire kuambia kwamba hili jambo ni mbaya.
MCA na wabunge wafanye siasa. Nyinyi muende mfanye kazi. Wananchi mfanye nini? Muende shambani mlime. Mpeleke watoto wasome.
Maize farmers from Uasin Gishu County have opposed the government's move to import GMO maize. Speaking in Eldoret, the farmers said that the measure will immensely affect their livelihood, given that maize was their main cash crop.
The farmers claimed Uasin Gishu and Trans Nzoia counties have the capacity to produce enough maize, and the importation of GMO maize will affect their livelihoods.
Sahi ni wakati wa mavuno na mavuno iko sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba ya kwamba serikali Linturi na wala ambao wanahusika kuja tushike mkutano kama wakulima wa North Rift, kisha tujue ni kiasi gani Linturi mahindi kiasi gani imefunwa katika Rift Valley, ndio unapeana ruhusa kwa Moses Kuria ambaye ni wa trade a import.
The farmers further called on the Ministry of Trade and Industry to stop interfering with affairs of the Agriculture Ministry.
Sisi tukiwa wakulima tuko na mahindi sahi Uasin Gishu. Na tukiwa wa Kenya kuna sababu ama sababu ambazo zimechangia sana Kenya kuwa maskini. Moja ni kwa sababu ya importation. Na wacha niwaambie viongozi, wakati una import vitu unapeleka ile capital ama ile pesa mingi kama 70% unapelekea mwenye unaenda kununua kwake.
This is as Pokot South legislator David Kosing said the government should focus on improving market prices rather than importing maize when farmers have hundreds of bags in stores.
Order for LCBBs to open and let our farmers in the North Rift, the greater North Rift, then submit their maize to LCBB with immediate effect. If the motivation is to feed our people who have hunger, we have enough maize. Mop all the maize in the North Rift and give to our people in Kenya.
The Old Mutual Kenya has announced a vaccination drive against pneumonia to its insured members over 65 years old and those living with a chronic condition. Old Mutual Health Acting Managing Director Japheth Ogalo said the company for the first time shall also cover the vaccine for at-risk adults.
Speaking during the official launch of the partnership between Old Mutual Health, FISA and Godlife Pharmacy, Old Mutual Acting Managing Director Japheth Ogalo said the vaccination is significant in addressing pneumonia, which remains among the leading causes of death in the country.
As a business, we have been deliberate about preventative healthcare and getting into the health and wellness of our customers. So whoever is healthy, we encourage them through our initiative to stay healthy, and our customers who already have comorbidities or chronic conditions, then we walk with them through the journey so that they get the best healthcare.
Ogalo said the vaccination drive, however, targets Old Mutual Health members over 65 years old and those living with chronic conditions.
It's a continuous process running throughout until we achieve the targeted numbers from our database. So the children under 5, the 3 cohorts that I've mentioned, and then we go to the next phase 2.
It will be life-changing because of wellness of the people who will get the vaccine and also saving cost
When we look at vaccinations generally in the country, your uptake of vaccinations is not as high. Yet we do know, and science has proven, that when someone is vaccinated, their incidence of disease drops dramatically.
With pneumococcal vaccine being a standard offering in all insurance products, but only for children, Ogalo says for the first time, Old Mutual shall also cover pneumococcal vaccine for at-risk adults.
Pneumococcal vaccine, which is pneumonia, and we'll be launching many of these.
We are going to sensitize our doctors so that we are able to communicate this and advocate for the pneumococcal vaccine and other vaccines that will come for the adult population.
Ben Chumba.
The National Police Service multi-agency team in Nairobi has arrested 6 suspected muggers in Mathare area. The 6 aged between 20 and 26 years were flushed out from their hideouts in Mathare area 1 on Monday evening. During the operation, police recovered 4 knives and 8 rolls of bang. In a post on their Twitter handle, the National Police Service announced that the 6 had been processed and will be arraigned in court. This comes in the wake of renewed fight against crime in the city. Catholic faithful have been urged to embrace the culture of praising and worship God through music. The Archbishop of the Nairobi Diocese, Philip Anyolo, has termed music as one of the tools for preaching peace, urging young people to join the cause. The prelate said this during the golden anniversary of the St. Peter and Paul Catholic Choir in Kiambu County.
Melodious tunes rent the air as St. Peter and Paul Catholic Choir in Kiambu County marked its 50th anniversary. The choir that was founded in 1972 with only 18 members now has over 120 participants. Archbishop Philip Anyolo of the Nairobi Diocese underscoring the role music plays in uniting nations and preaching the gospel.
The choir is a very important and special instrument of evangelization within the Catholic Church and within the whole spectrum of expression of faith. So we want to say thank you for the choir, and we encourage them that they continue praising the Lord with their gladness, because whoever sings well prays twice.
His sentiments were echoed by Bishop George Muthaka of the Garissa Diocese.
Tunahimizwa tutumie talanta zetu ambazo tumepewa na huyu ambaye tuliambiwa ndio muumba wetu na mkombozi wetu na mfalme wetu. Tutumie hizo talanta ambazo ametupatia ili tuweze kutekeleza kazi ya kumsifu na kueneza utukufu wake.
Who commended the choir for its achievements, including having been named among the top 10 best choirs in Kenya. Young people have in the meantime been urged to join the choir so as to take up the mantle when the current members retire.
This is a town choir. Wengine wetu wameenda kazi baribali, wengine wamepigwa transfer juu ya mambo ya riziki zao, lakini Mungu ametuwezesha kuwa ya kwamba hiki kikundi bado kimesimama imara.
You're watching the Lunchtime News, and true to its word, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is bringing you the matches from Qatar. In fact, it's in all the platforms from the DSTV to Signet. Right after the break, we'll be joining my colleague Daniel Wahome, who is at the Cameroon Embassy, for the latest updates ahead of this evening matches. Stay with us. See you on the other side.
Make transactions anywhere in the world with the NCBA Visa card and stand a chance to win big. Join the FIFA World Cup 2022 when you win an all-expenses-paid trip for you and your +1 to watch 2 games. Or win exciting weekly prizes that will make your FIFA viewing experience super duper. All it takes is a swipe or a tap to pay 2,000 Kenya shillings or more with your NCBA Visa debit or credit card. The more you swipe or tap to pay, the higher your chances of winning with 1 point for every 2,000 Kenya shillings spent. Don't miss out. NCBA. Go for it.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. This is KBC. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Continue interacting with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We now cross over to the Embassy of Cameroon. My colleague Daniel Wakome is on standby. Daniel, we're doing this again. World Cup Eco KBC. Give us the latest from your end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was Kasarani. Yeah, Kasarani. Thank you very much, Irene Muchuma, back at Broadcasting House. We're at Rwanda, and this is at the consulate of the Republic of Cameroon. You know, because World Cup Eco KBC, Cameroon are going to be playing on Thursday. That's going to be their opening game against Switzerland. That match is going to be broadcast live on KBC Channel 1. And together with the consulate of Cameroon, KBC has partnered, and there's going to be a public viewing of the guests of the consulate of the Republic of Cameroon. And we've got the Minister Plenipotentiary, Dr. Vivian Nain, with us in her office. And thank you very much, Dr. Nain. And you know, let's start with this: the Cameroon qualifying this year for the World Cup. I know if Cameroon misses the World Cup, it comes close to a national crisis. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Daniel. I want to also thank KBC for partnering with Cameroon, and we don't take it for granted. We are so delighted and honored to have been approached by you for this partnership. And you rightly said, Cameroon, you know, you saw the qualifying match between Cameroon and Nigeria. It was, I mean, it would have been a national crisis if we lost that match, because there is something in football that binds Cameroonians together. You know, we might have our differences, but when it comes to football, that's a unifying factor. And we actually prayed that the Lions make it through, and they did. So we are very happy to be now in Qatar. Yeah. Well, and I can say it's been quite some eventful time for, you know, Cameroon, especially sporting-wise, having hosted the Africa Cup of Nations. A different team did win, but there seems to be that buzz that's coming back to the Lions of late. Just tell us about, you know, how that tournament brought back the buzz. Yeah, the AFCON 2021 was long expected, because Cameroon last hosted the AFCON in 1972. That was decades ago. Kenya was in that AFCON. Yeah, so we've been working towards it. We needed a stadium, and all that was put in place timely. And we had our AFCON, which actually boosts the morality of Cameroonians, because for long Cameroonians were not very happy that they're a very big football nation and they are not hosted in modern times. So the AFCON was really a welcome event for Cameroon, and it also brought some kind of ambiance within the football family of Cameroon. Not only the national team, but also the Elite One teams that constitute the playing leagues in Cameroon. So it was a time for people to showcase their knowledge, and for the youngsters to also be promoted, maybe picked in the national team also. So it was a very good moment for Cameroon, and I think we sailed through it quite well. Well, the story of Cameroon becoming, you know, the first African team to win a match was Tunisia way back in '78, but in '82 Cameroon had that huge impact on the game and continuously appearing, culminating in that quarterfinal place in 1990. What was the vibe then in Cameroon, with Francois Omambi, Kimano Kunde, Songo, that generation of players making history?
Yeah, it does not just make history, it still makes history even now. Because most of the time, the modern footballers are compared to that era of Roger Milla, Omambi, Kono. Kono was the goalkeeper at the time. And these are people who went into football for the love of the game. Now football also is a business, it's a game, it's a profession. But they didn't go in as professionals. You see, there were local players that loved the game and projected the image of Cameroon through their coming together. And as you said, from when they had the first AFCON to when they started in the World Cup, it has always been fun. And especially in the 1990, that was the apex of the game. Because not only did they beat Argentina in the opening match, they went to the quarterfinals, which was the first ever for an African country to attain. And we have always leveraged our football at that level. So even after the different generations, we'll still have that as the peak. So we keep looking forward to getting back to that level, and why not go beyond it to get the cup?
Well, let me talk about something that happened 10 years later.
Yeah.
Patrick Mboma, Idris Kameni, that generation of players going on to win that Olympic gold.
Yeah.
When you look at the medal tables to do with Cameroon, that is the one that stands out.
Yeah.
What was then with that generation that later went on to win 2 back-to-back AFCONs?
Mm-hmm. That was a transitional generation from the Roger Millas to the Patrick Mboma, Etofis, Rigobert Song. That was a team, the Olympic team 2000. So that was a young generation that had to prove its worth. I even saw the way they won that match during the Olympic Games. It was not an easy match. They went to penalties, and they had to prove themselves to be maintained in the national team. It's a team where every now and then new players come in. So for you to maintain your position as a professional player with the national team, you have to give your best. And I think they did. They gave their best for that match.
Now, 22 years later in Qatar, you've got people from that generation who are now all around the team. Rigobert Song is the national team coach. Samuel Eto'o is the FA president. I think Roger Milla, always in an ambassadorial role. How are this rubbing off again, on these young players?
I think it gives them the confidence that they can rely on people who were there yesterday for their advice. And now in Qatar, you still have some people, it's a mix. Because you have people like Vincent Aboubakar, who is the captain of the team, who also played with Rigobert Song and Etofis. So he is still there to maintain, that kind of serenity that was when he was playing with Samuel Eto'o and Patrick Mboma. And these people, you say, they are surrounding them. So they still benefit from their presence, their experience, and their expertise. So I think, the match is always 90 minutes. So if they perform in one way during the first half, they have the 15 minutes to benefit from the coaching and the review of the tactics of the Lion during the break. So I think they stand to still gain a lot from those people surrounding them. And as you rightly said, Roger Milla is always there. He's the roving ambassador, and he's our biggest legend. So keep encouraging the Lions once more.
Well, interesting that former Harambee Stars coach Sebastian Minyi is the assistant to Rigobert Song. So we know that if Cameroon plays Kenya again, there are 2 familiar faces on the technical bench.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Cameroon's opening game and the consulate of Cameroon, the public viewing event. Just give us, a sneak peek of what everyone should expect.
You expect a lot of fun. We are football lovers. We're a country of football lovers. As I said, football is unity. And you will look forward to a very exciting crowd of Cameroonians here in Kenya. I've also had the pleasure of inviting some ambassadors and heads of mission from the African Diplomatic Corps in Nairobi. So we are going to have a huge crowd, and we are looking forward to having a lot of fun. You see the ambience, the Cameroonian way, and I think it rubs off on the Harambee. Yeah.
Well, and when you talk about the fun and the ambience, when it comes to culture, I think your biggest cultural icon here is Sam Thomas.
Yes, Sam found Thomas, and I have a story. I have a Kenyan friend who to me is like a sister. She once told me Sam Frank Thomas was Kenyan. You know, because of his repetitive presence in Kenya, he has grown to be a household name in Kenya. And we really appreciate that bond between Cameroon and Kenya. And I think it's an opportunity we could leverage on that to bring our cultures together, you know, have a cultural show of Cameroon and Kenya. I think that would be good for African unity.
Oh, okay, and you know, now let's talk about the two countries. You know, is somebody visiting Cameroon, what are some of the things they could benefit from, and somebody from Cameroon coming to Kenya, things they could benefit from?
Yes, it depends in what category or what domain you are visiting Cameroon. Are you going as a tourist or as a business partner, or it all depends. And we have all those. If it's a partnership, we are here to facilitate for people who are going for partnership. Of recent, I've seen so many Kenyans going to Cameroon to impart knowledge, especially in the ICTs, so many. Others go for church reasons, and then others are developers looking for partners to develop real estate in Cameroon. So there's that partnership that is growing by the day. And also, we have the Kenya Airways that flies Cameroon, which has been of great service to us, although its service to Cameroon has been stepped down. I don't really know, maybe because of COVID, but we think that it's a trying moment, and we expect and we really hope that Kenya Airways steps back, brings back its service to Yaoundé, because you only go to Nairobi, Douala, and back. But there are so many tourists in Yaoundé willing to travel to Kenya. So once in a while I receive calls from people, apart from Kenya Airways, which other airline can I take? So you have Rwanda, you have Ethiopian, but the idea would have been Kenya Airways flying these two cities.
Oh.
So there's a lot we can do together. We have a lot of timber. You can import timber from Cameroon. Instead of us exporting it all to Europe, we can import timber from Cameroon. We can export tea to Cameroon. I'm aware that 2 weeks ago, some Kenyan tea was flagged off to Ghana. Can also be done in Cameroon. We have tea, but variety also is the spice of life. So we could go that way.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vivian Nain. She's the Minister Plenipotentiary at the Consulate of Cameroon here in Kenya. And remember, it's a public viewing event on Thursday, Cameroon against Switzerland, and it's going to be live on KBC Channel 1. World Cup, Eco KBC. My name is Daniel Wahome. Back to you, Irene Buchuma at Broadcasting House.
Thank you, Wahome. The comments on our social media platforms, everyone will be looking forward to that match. Welcome, Pico KBC. Now, to security concerns, police in Tana River have arrested one person believed to be working in cohorts with Al-Shabaab in order to facilitate their terror operations in the northeastern region, Tana River and Lamu counties. Mustafa Khalib Mohammed, a resident of Bura East Sub-County in Tana River County, is alleged to have been receiving payments for providing sensitive information to the terror group.
The end of the road for Mustafa Khalib Mohammed, a resident of Bura East Sub-County in Tana River County, after he was arrested by the security personnel for allegedly supplying sensitive information to the Somalia-based Al-Shabaab terror group. At the time of his arrest, Mohammed had just delivered a detailed surveillance report about a security installation for attack. According to police report, Mohammed had detailed to his Al-Shabaab handlers the routes used by security personnel from the camp, and provided a map of the areas adjacent to the camp, and provided probable escape routes to be used by the militants who will execute the attack at the security camp. It had also been tasked to report on security operation in northeastern and Lamu County in order to facilitate Al-Shabaab IED attacks and ambushes against Kenyan security personnel. Mohammed's most crucial task was also to spy on the LAPSET project, one of the Kenya's key ongoing infrastructure development program, with the aim of sabotaging the progress. He was also following up on the movement of political leaders for possible kidnapping and ransom missions to bolster the terror group financial base. At the time of his arrest, Mohammed was also found to be in possession of spying glasses and cameras that he was using to gather data on possible targets. He was also found with violent extremism content and material, which he propagated to unsuspected youth on online platforms to lure them into joining terrorist groups. Timothy Kipnusu for Lunchtime News.
Kenyans have been urged to diversify food production mechanisms as a way of mitigating the adverse effects of drought in the country. Kenya Nutritionist and Dietetics Institute Chief Executive Officer Dr. David Okeo says Kenyans from the arid and semi-arid regions should consider edible insects and drought-resistant crops as an alternative food source which can be produced more practically and sustainably. He made the remarks during a symposium on conviviality and innovation for a sustainable and healthy diet held at the Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitians Institute.
And because we are struggling with hidden hunger, which is micronutrient deficiency, we think insects would be an alternative source of protein and those particular trace elements that we need in Kenya.
As you recognize that there are insects that are edible, then you must change your mind and make sure you distinguish the right insect to eat and how.
Is to encourage communities to diversify what they are growing, what they are eating, and also what they are marketing. And we are also raising awareness on conscious food choices because we want people to know where their food comes from, who produces their food, and the consequences of their food choices.
Kenya, there is more knowledge about the impact that food in general have on our health. So this is why it is important that each country set standards for food safety.
Channel 1 Business News. Equity Bank Group made 34.4 billion shillings in net profit during the first 9 months of this year, representing a 28% increase that was driven by growth in unfunded income. The lender says customer deposits has risen to 1 trillion shillings, making Equity the first bank across the East African region to cross the trillion threshold.
And Equity registers profit before tax of 44.3 billion shillings, a profit after tax of 34.4 billion shillings, a 28% growth in profit, and of course earnings per share growing at 27% and positioning the shareholders well. I think it was worth the 2 years they missed dividend. The earnings have bounced much better.
Bank Group made 3.5 billion shillings in pre-tax profit during the first 9 months of this year, representing a 33.2% increase that was powered by non-interest income. Family Bank CEO Rebecca Mbithe says non-interest income increased 22.4% to 2.7 billion shillings, while net interest income rose 9.8% to 6.2 billion shillings.
Family Bank's loan book expanded 22.7% to 79.8 billion shillings, while customer deposits increased 13.8% to 92.7 billion shillings. This helped anchor growth in both interest and non-interest income. The lender says net interest income increased 22.4% to 2.7 billion shillings, powered by interest income on loans and advances and government securities that grew 16.6% and 40.7% respectively. Non-funded income increased by 22.4% from 2.3 billion shillings to 2.7 billion shillings for the period under review, with income from fees and commissions registering a decline of 50.1% to 84.6 million shillings. Loan loss provisions registered a 42% reduction to close at 469.6 million shillings. The lender's total operating expenses increased from 5.3 billion shillings to 5.5 billion shillings. Still on quarter 3 results, I&M Group has reported a 29% increase in quarter 3 pre-tax profit to 10.4 billion shillings, powered by net interest income that increased 16% to 16.2 billion shillings.
The balance sheet, our total assets grew by 7% to 429 billion shillings, which was up from 399 billion. That's 30 billion increase, 22 billion of which has come from loan book growth. Our loan portfolio grew by 11% to 231 billion shillings in the period.
Total non-interest income rose from 6.2 shillings to 8.8 million shillings on account of a 26% increase in fees and commissions, as well as forex trading income. Net non-performing loans decreased 13% to 5.8 billion shillings. This is despite the stock of gross non-performing increasing from 22.72 billion shillings to 23.68 billion shillings.
All right, the government is asking for your views to help update the cybersecurity framework to address emerging trends. Communication Authority of Kenya Director General Ezra Chiloba says the framework is set to be in place in the next 12 months and will create a seamless channel of cybersecurity information sharing between the private and public sector.
The immediate concern here is that we must review our regulatory framework to take care of these new developments of cloud computing, of the new elements around cybersecurity. Just yesterday, part 1, we had consensus with the Attorney General to just give us a 12-month window to allow us to review the existing legal framework, so that we align the new framework to the changes that we already experiencing in this particular space. Now, this 12-month window will allow us to also have conversations with yourselves as key stakeholders and key players. We cannot regulate what we do not understand.
We are looking forward to having an interface with liquid intelligence technologies to have a framework of sharing information. Because some of the threats that you are actually observing or responding to could likely have a national impact.
The Rwandan government has exempted electric cars, their spare parts, batteries and charging equipment from VAT, as well as import and excess duties. The range from incentives is meant to encourage use of electric vehicles in the landlocked country. Here now are the details of this and other stories from across the continent.
A key part of the plan is to cut greenhouse gas emissions and reduce Rwanda's dependence on imported fossil fuels, which account for 40% of the country's foreign exchange expenditure. The electric vehicles can be charged at a heavily subsidized electricity tariff. The government also offers rent-free land for charging bays. The pilot project started with 4 cars and 2 charging stations in Kigali. Rwanda's EV plugging charging network is planning to build 200 public chargers across the country over the next 2 years. 700 e-motorbikes are already in use in Rwanda. Elsewhere, the International Monetary Fund and South Sudan have reached a staff-level agreement for the release of about $112.7 million in emergency financing. The emergency fund under the new food shock window will help South Sudan address food insecurity, support social spending, and boost international reserve. Early this month, United Nations agencies said up to 7.8 million people in South Sudan, 2/3 of the population, may face severe food shortages during next year's April to June lean season due to floods, drought and conflict. The IMF has put the number of people experiencing severe food insecurity in South Sudan at 8.3 million. Finally, Egypt has earmarked $2 million to prepare strategic detailed maps for the planned 74 industrial zones. The zones will be put on Egypt's investment map as they would span on a total of 4,500 square meters located in 23 governorates. The location of 63 has been designated already, comprising 15 in Cairo, 7 in each of Alexandria and Beni Suef, among other locations.
British North Sea oil and gas producers will spend around £20 billion on dismantling over 2,000 unused wells and facilities in the aging basin over the next decade. The cost burden for decommissioning the wells is set to rise sharply over the next 4 years as more fields halt production. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Growing decommissioning bill coincides with British Finance Minister's decision last week to increase a windfall tax on North Sea producers to 35% from 25%, bringing total taxes on the sector to 75%, which is among the highest in the world. Offshore Energies UK estimates around 21,000 North Sea wells will be decommissioned over the next decade at an average cost of £7.8 million per well. The proportion of spending on decommissioning in companies' budget is set to rise from the current 14% to 19% by the year 2031. Elsewhere, liquidity conditions in China's interbank money markets have eased further as cash supply far outpaced demand. Despite a huge withdrawal of funds by the central bank, key rates have dropped, with the volume-weighted average price of the overnight report traded in the interbank market falling below the threshold of 1% for the first time in 2 months to 0.85%. Its 22-month low, the overnight report, has traded at 0.87%, down 21 basis points from the previous close, and the 7-day report has stood at 1.636%, more than 36 basis points lower than the reverse report rate charged by the People's Bank of China. Finally, Japan's Mazda Motor Corporation plans to invest 1.5 trillion yen by the year 2030 to procure electric vehicles, battery, and cooperate with battery suppliers Envision AAC. The automaker will secure batteries and seek to increase production of fully electric vehicles at the factories in Japan through the partnership with Envision AAC. Automakers worldwide are spending billions of dollars to ramp up battery and EV production in the face of tougher environmental regulation.
All right, you're watching the Lunchtime News. Before we get to sports news, let's have a look at other news making headlines from the counties. A section of leaders from Laikipia County have proposed to have the county's boundaries manned in a bid to curb frequent cattle rustling in the region. Led by Igwamwiti Ward MCA Irene Washuka and Olmoran Ward nominated MCA Benson Kamara, the leaders said that the issuance of border passes to herders from the neighboring counties would be the only way to curb cattle rustling and ensure only responsible cattle herders are allowed to access grazing lands in the county.
The call to have the Laikipia County borders manned came just a day after a farmer was attacked Monday morning following a confrontation with herders in Olmoran location.
Na wakati niliamuka niliona wamama wamebeba chodo na magunia, nikawauliza nini inaendelea. Sisi tumetoka Olmoran. Kasi yetu ni kuuawa, wamama wanalia na watoto.
According to the locals, the area chief had received a call from the Nyumba Kumi committee informing him of stolen cattle that were being driven through his jurisdiction.
Idea tulikuwa na polisi, KPR na machifu. Lakini hao watu wakati waliwaambiwa wasimame, hawakusimama. Walianza mbio, wengine wakakimbia, sasa wakafuatwa na polisi. Sasa wengine walishikwa, wengine wakapotea, lakini ng'ombe zilishikwa ziko police station ya Olmoran.
The chief is said to have alerted the police and the locals who intercepted the cattle rustlers. An altercation left one farmer injured after his hand was deeply cut, but the police arrested one of the rustlers.
Efika uweze kutembea Laikipia County na sana Social Ward ambao iko katika Olmoran Division. Uweze kutembea pale, uweze kutukabidhi bunduki za NPL. kwa sababu katika kijiji chetu unapata ya kwamba katika Gedima sub-location hakuna NPL hata moja.
The local leaders have now appealed to the government through Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki to deploy National Police reservists in the region as he promised in Samburu County.
In sports, Los Angeles winger Gareth Bale scored world's first Gold Cup goal since 1958 to help the team force a 1-1 draw with the USA. The action continues today with 4 matches on card, with world champions France opening their title defense against Australia in a match that will be televised live on KBC Channel 1 at 10 p.m. tonight. Also remember to catch all the action live on KBC radio stations. World Cup Eco KBC.
You know what it is.
Pulisic lays it through. It's Weah! Timothy Weah for the USA.
Gareth Bale scored a late penalty as Wales came from a goal down to tie with USA in their first match of Group B.
He scored some very important goals in his time. And he scored another.
Elsewhere, Senegal will have to get positive results in their next 2 matches against Ecuador and Qatar in order to secure a place